listening to ASOTU CON Sessions by Effectv, live from ASOTU CON 2023.
All right, welcome back to another episode of ASOTU CON Sessions, sponsored by Effectv, and they have been incredible partners to make sure that this content gets out into the world. And I'm actually sitting here with the head of sales development for Effectv, which is a Comcast company, Don Williamson. Don, thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. I have just recently kind of gotten to know you. Obviously, you were at ASOTU CON last year and then this year as well again, but we got to hang out on a panel, and I thoroughly enjoyed just your approach. So I just want to say I appreciate that.
You.
You know, like this
Thank
is a
you.
moment that I get to share with you, and like in all the craziness, it's just us here, which is great. Tell me, because you Effectv is such a broad company and deals inside and outside of automotive. Can you give me just like, as you're seeing the way that the world is moving right now, especially from a media perspective, what is the broad trajectory? Give me a 30,000 foot view of the broad trajectory of where brands are heading when they're thinking about media.
So from 30,000 point of view, I think the important piece is the messaging, really getting crisp on what is the message that they want to convey to their potential consumers, getting that creative message really tight, and also thinking about how can they target their potential customer in this very noisy media landscape. Where are their consumers consuming content? What platforms? What mediums? And how do they convey their message in a concise, crisp format, so then with tight attention spans and so much distraction, making sure that they're landing their message and resonating with those potential consumers.
Yeah. Now, a lot of times I feel like, especially marketers or people in media, we have this particular bent toward like seeing and feeling the things that we talk about on a daily basis in our regular lives.
Yes.
Like when you look at media or experience it, whether that be in social media or streaming or anything like that, what makes you feel good? Like personally, not like take the hat off for a second, you know,
yes.
Personally, what are you experiencing that you're saying, I wish more people would do that? Like, is there a brand or is there an experience that you've been like, I wish more people would just watch what's happening there?
Yeah,
you know?
For me personally, great storytelling is super powerful. The ability to evoke emotion, to make one pause and really think about what this message, service, opportunity, product is going to offer and resonate with me. So I think, again, pulling back the lens, like British Airways does a really good job of storytelling and the value of travel and meeting your family and being able to really connect people and emotion. To me, I think advertising that is able to evoke emotion and provoke one to take action, that to me is powerful storytelling. And so video content for me is still the most powerful medium to get a story across. So, taking off on as a consumer, that's what I
British
do.
Airways video commercial.
And I don't need to tout them, but I was just thinking about
that's
like,
good. You're just a person.
I'm
Come
just
on
a
now.
person now.
Yeah.
I think they have a storyline where there's a child, and you see kind of a black and white visual of him with his mom sitting eating a bowl of rice, and how basically you see all the stages of his life and how he grows up, and then ultimately he's no longer in his mom's home anymore, and he's traveled all the way across the country, and they don't have that moment. And so she pauses and looks at that kitchen table and thinks about the times.
Man.
And then next thing you know, it's kind of like, okay, how do you connect that human experience with taking action? And so that to me is like the ultimate message.
I'm getting messed up. My kids are young, and I'm experiencing that. Like, I'm experiencing that commercial through you right now, and I can see how that can be so captivating to tell stories in that way. So often our media messages and our marketing messages are just like, do this now, buy this now, experience this now, right? Instead of like walking us through a journey that's uniquely human.
That's right.
Right?
That's
and
right.
I think it's so... We see the best marketers, right? Apple does this so well. Like, they connect you to uniquely human experiences that tech is just around, right?
That's right.
Here's what's cool. In auto, I mean, Paul and I talk about this all the time. auto is connected to so many unique human experiences.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
You have to use auto
To get to anywhere you want, right? With your family. Like some of the best conversations I have with my family are in the car.
Right. My wife and I were
'Cause
always
it's a
like,
captive
we're always
audience.
like, we got to take a family vacation because we need some conversation.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Why wouldn't? Oh, now I'm telling every dealer, I'm like, you got to tell a commercial. You got to do a commercial about taking a family vacation and having conversations in the car.
And
'cause you were
building
so
that
right.
human relationship and dynamic that's so powerful. And to your point, auto is an integral part of everyone's lifestyle. And so how do we leverage that to really connect?
I'm like speechless right now. 'Cause I'm like, the British Airways connection is so key to me. I think everyone that's listening to this should go search whatever this commercial is, because I think it could be inspiration for us, because we're in the travel industry similar to those. Actually, if you look on the majority of like news and media sites, like a CNN or a Bloomberg or anything like that, they actually call it autos and transportation. Is like that's
right. There's a whole segment just on that.
the segment, and
Yes.
it includes air travel and auto.
That's right.
At the same time, right?
That's
and we
right.
just think of auto as like our own vertical, but if we could actually probably learn a lot
And leverage, yes.
from these travel
That's right.
organizations that are doing that. That's
That's
so
right.
cool.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so now that we've gotten all touchy feely and emotional at this point, and I'm about to get messed up about my kids leaving home. Thank you.
But one plug that I'm going to make is within Effectv, we have an in-house creative agency called Mnemonic, where they work with dealers to tell these stories. Because at the end, obviously the medium of which you get your message out there is important, but it's only as important as the creative message you build.
Yes.
And so oftentimes I think there's an over-index on attribution metrics, but let's pause and see, what is the story you're telling, and is it getting across the message you're trying to achieve?
Well, because like, I mean, you think about it, I was about to go to the data question, but it's almost dangerous, because if you go to the data question too quickly, you forget that messages connect, and it doesn't matter who it is. Like everybody will need a car bought or serviced at some point in their life. And so if you can it's like, why does Coca-Cola have an always on strategy?
Right.
Well, because there's a good chance that someone's going to walk into a store and have the choice between Coke and Pepsi.
That's right. That's right.
And so evoking that emotion at any point is important. And so I love that you bring up like, hey, we may be about placement, and we may be about ad service, and we may have data to measure and attribute and all this type of stuff. But if you don't get the creative right, like
That's right.
everyone's just going to be annoyed, and it's going to be an ad that's a disruption to their general engagement.
Exactly. It's the full experience, right? From the story and message you experience, to the media platforms you buy, to the metrics that you measure in the data, to the experience when they enter your dealership, right? So it all works together. And that's why I think it's a partnership from beginning to end.
Yeah, that's good. So, okay, so give me a little bit, because I think this is a myth that is just, it's going to take years to unravel at this point. But the myth that TV, OTT, streaming, linear TV, cable, any of that traditional is all extremely hard to measure, extremely hard to attribute, and extremely hard to place right time, right message, right person. But that's changing
That's right.
dramatically right now.
Yes,
Talk us through
yes.
like how that change has come about.
So the advantage that we have now is we are able to connect the dots across all different platforms. So the opportunity to leverage data insights as you're building your media schedule on linear, and follow through consumers as they consume media on different platforms, leveraging the data that you have as an advertiser as well as a supplier like myself, where we have first party data, and merging it together to make sure that we're targeting in the appropriate environment. The reality is there are so many mediums you can purchase, but being really strategic about how you leverage and how you make that combination is key. We've uncovered that linear combined with streaming is the ideal combination, but probably about 30% in streaming is the right amount. Otherwise, the experience does not create the value and the incremental reach that you're looking for. So very different than the past, where you just had a TV spot. You didn't really know where that audience was. You couldn't leverage data. Today, we have all of those qualities that we're able to leverage, so then we could be more strategic about how we do things.
Yeah, it's almost like linear and streaming are almost becoming
just
one.
video.
It's just video.
It's a video ecosystem, and
that's
now
a renaming for our industry, right?
is.
In all industries, really.
It is. It is. It's now the video environment. And what does premium video mean? You know, is it brand safe? Is it long form? Is it trusted? So that's the next kind of dialogue that's happening is everyone uses this term premium video very loosely, but what does it really mean? And we really need to be smart about how we define it. So then, you know, there's a lot of clutter out there. And so you got to make sure the environments you're in. The other side is tracking, attribution, tracking website traffic. After they consume that content, are we starting to see an uptick? And now we have tools that enable us to track that as well. So it's definitely moved in a different direction. It's all good, but we still have to get the message out there because of past perceptions.
Yeah, past perception. I mean, it was preached for 10 years. Like, TV's dead because you can't track it, because everybody figured that, you know, Google search and Facebook was the only way that you were going to be able to track attribution ROI, and that's just a changing tune.
That's right.
And I appreciate that you're saying, like, hey, as an industry, as media, right? Because it's not just Effectv, it's just media in general is now saying, like, hey, look, we have this data, and dealers and advertisers can leverage it to understand their customer, place the right message at the right time, and attribute sales and business outcomes to it.
That's right. That's
Very
right.
cool.
And I think you had mentioned earlier when we were talking on the panel, you know, about partnerships, and we are leveraging partnerships where we need to. And that, I think, also in the past, folks are very, I think, reticent to include another partner. Now, if you want to leverage data insights, as we talked about AutoFlight, you know, that enables dealers to see what's going on in their backyard, uncovering the stats of maybe where their share is way lower that they may not even be aware of, because, as you know, to comb through the data is intense.
It's a lot,
so now we're bringing to the table, hey, this zip code you might be underperforming. They may not even realize that. And then now we could target advertising to the geographic areas that they're undershared. That was not a possibility before. And for sure, you weren't getting your TV salesperson coming in with those type of insights.
And saying, this is what the insights are.
That's right. So
That's
I think in the
level.
media landscape, it's no longer a vendor relationship. It's a consultative business partner.
Yep.
You know, how do we grow this business together?
That's amazing. That's really cool. Well, Dawn, thanks for spending a little bit of time with us.
Of
You got us
course.
a little emotional. We got into the details. We got into the data, and it was super fun.
Excellent.
And thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.